Hey, welcome back to Postal Barbecue. I'm Jabin Postal, and today at the grill we're making some juicy and tender smoked beef ribs. You're gonna love them. Just like always, I'm gonna put all the show notes for you in the description box below, so make sure to click down there to see everything that you need for this recipe. Also, if you like what we're doing on this channel, consider subscribing for more great barbecue recipes, tutorials, and reviews. And other than that, let's get into the cook. Okay, so today we're gonna be making these beautiful beef ribs. You can see that it's a full plate of ribs, and these guys are thick. And you can see that they're just over about 2 inches total on this end, and still quite thick on this end. So these are gonna be a great rack of beef ribs. You know, beef ribs, they're not overly complex to make. They just require a little bit of a time commitment because they do take a number of hours to cook properly, so you have that nice bark and smoky flavor while still being really, really tender. So to prepare these ribs today, first of all, we're just gonna take a look at the backside. We're gonna be leaving the membrane on for the entirety of the cook. You can see there is a chunk of fat here, so I'm gonna go ahead and just trim that off. There we go, we don't need that. Then on the top side, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our knife and we're gonna trim off all of the fat and the silver skin here. And so I'm gonna go ahead and quickly just do that. So just get your knife under that silver skin and just work through it. There we go. And the reason why we're doing this is because we want that rub to stick completely on to the meat portion versus sitting on top of that fat. All right, I think I'm happy with that. There's a bit of fat right here, but nothing we can really do about that. So let's get rid of this. All right, let's go ahead and get this seasoned up. The first thing I'm gonna do is apply some Worcestershire sauce all over the outside of this. And I'm gonna apply this first because I want that flavor to really absorb into the meat. There we go, that should be enough. Next, I'm gonna take a little bit of olive oil and give it a quick spray. There we go. Then the last step is we're going to apply our barbecue rub. And in here, I mixed up 2 tablespoons of kosher salt, 2 tablespoons of black pepper, a half a tablespoon of garlic, a half a tablespoon of onion powder, a half a tablespoon of paprika, and just a little pinch of white sugar. With our rub mixed together, go ahead and place a generous coating on the outside of our beef ribs. And because we have our membrane on in the back, we don't have to put any rub on it, but let's go ahead and put a little bit on anyways. You know, I can already tell you that these ribs look great just sitting here in this rub, but there's nothing left to do to prep these ribs, so let's go ahead and get our grill set up for cooking around 275 degrees. Today I'm using the Weber Kettle as well as the Slow & Sear, and so to set that up I placed about 15 briquettes into the Slow & Sear and got them fully lit. Once they're fully lit, I filled up the remainder of the Slow & Sear with unlit briquettes. I then added a few chunks of hardwood. Today I'm using some whiskey staves, which is going to give our ribs a nice subtle smoky flavor. I then filled up the water reservoir with boiling water and then closed the lid to let it come up to around 275 degrees. So with our grill up to temperature, let's go ahead and get these placed onto the grill opposite the coals. Also, because these are so thick, I'm going to place a digital thermometer into the thickest part of the meat. And with our ribs on the grill, let's close the lid and we'll begin cooking these around 275 degrees. I've been cooking these ribs now for about 2 hours, and so let's open up the lid and just take a quick peek. And while the lid is open, I'm gonna give it a quick spritz just to add a little bit of moisture to the outside of these ribs as they cook. We'll close the lid and continue smoking these ribs for probably 1 more hour just to allow that bark to fully set before we wrap our ribs. Our back ribs have now been cooking for just over 3 hours, so let's open the lid and just take a peek and see what they're looking like. Wow, look at that. You can see that we have some great color, we have some nice bone pullback here, as well as our bark is set up quite nicely. So let's pull this off and get it into our wrap. Today I'm gonna be using some butcher's paper. If you don't have butcher's paper, go ahead and use some aluminum foil. That will work just as well. And so with this, we're gonna roll out about 3 feet or so. And just give it a slice. Then we'll grab our ribs and we'll place that, we'll get that onto the butcher's paper. We're just gonna wrap it up just like a present. Fold that over. Okay, so with this wrap, place it back on the grill. Then we're gonna insert this meat thermometer again into that same part, which is about right here. Be careful you don't poke through to the other side. We're looking to get it right in between the bones. With everything back on the grill, let's close the lid and we're gonna begin cooking to tenderness, which is around 203 to 205 degrees. Our ribs have now been cooking for just under 6 hours and our internal temperature has kind of flatlined around 198. And so what I'm gonna do is open up the grill and just probe for tenderness and just see how it's actually doing tenderness wise, because tenderness, as we know, is actually more important than temperature. So I'm just gonna poke through this paper here. Just feel, ooh, that feels nice and tender. Yeah, I like that. Bone there. Perfect. Yeah, so when I probe through the paper and into the meat, my ThermaPen is sliding in quite nicely. And so I'm gonna call these done. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take them off the grill and let them rest covered in foil. You can put them in a Cambro, you can cover them and put them in your oven just to kind of stay warm. And I'm gonna let them rest for about an hour and then I'm gonna come back and we'll get ready for the taste test. So these smoked beef ribs are all done. The color on these is absolutely gorgeous and they already smell great. So let's cut into it and see what it looks like. Wow, those are super juicy. Last one here. Wow, this is super tender. This one came off the bone already. Okay, so since this one is already off the bone, let's cut into it and give it a taste. Just slice this through, super tender. All right, let's go into this one. Look at this smoke ring. Wow, that's amazing. Super tender. Okay, enough playing. Let's go for the taste test. As expected, these smoked beef ribs are tender, they're juicy, they have amazing smoky flavor, and that rub is coming through really well. And you can taste that pepper that's in the rub, which really complements these beef ribs really well. I need another bite. Cheers. So there you have it, juicy and tender beef back ribs that you're gonna love. Hey, if you wanna see more videos just like this one, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell, and we'll see you next time.